How you doing? This is Ron. I'm here at the Jordan River Parkway. We're going to take a sample here of the Jordan River. This is a river that runs right through the center of the Salt Lake Valley, and it's a very good representation of the types of pollution that are occurring all over our groundwaters, all over the Utah Salt Lake Valley. Over here to my right, you can see that we have several mounds over here, and there are several mounds behind this. And what these are residue from an old steel plant processor called the Sharon Steel Plant. So at this point, we'll go ahead and push the handcart and find a suitable place where we'll take a fairly good sample of the river that's running through the heart of Salt Lake Valley. This is the Jordan River. As you look down toward the very bottom of this picture, you'll be able to see there's a bridge goes across the road, and just the other side of that bridge is a suitable location where I can take a good sample. But this is the bridge I'm crossing, and yeah, this is a pretty good body of water to check out to see what kind of pollutions we got in here, and to show how well we can actually distill this. Okay, I'm down here where I'm getting ready to take my sample. I'll go ahead and get it right out of this area right here. First thing I'm going to do is take a TDS reading on this to see where the pollution comes in on this. "807 parts per million." Okay, I'm going to take my bucket now and get a sample. I'm getting error readings. I'm not going to be able to get a reading at this point, but I'll take it and warm it up, and then I'll be able to get a reading. I think that the water's too cold. So at this point, I'm going to put the lid on, and you'll be able to see how this sample comes out. There's no point in getting dirt and mud in it, because we'll get a good reading, and I'm going to be adding some salt into this to simulate ocean conditions. Okay, this is the sample that I took the other day out of the Jordan River. we can look down there and see that it has settled a little bit, sediment in the bottom. I'm now going to go ahead and take a reading with the TDS meter, and you can see that it reads all zeros. Let's see what this does now that we have this sample at room temperature. Oh, wow. This thing is nearly maxed out. On this particular meter, I cannot get a reading in excess of 999. There it goes to air. So it's even exceeding the meter's ability to read the sample. So you can see that this is a very polluted sample of water. I'm not content just with that. What I'm going to do is I'm going to add a container of salt to this, and it will do one thing and one thing only. It'll significantly add to the pollution that we are going to have to clean up before this water becomes potable in any way, shape, or form. So here we go. We're going to pour this salt into this polluted water that we know already is over 980 parts per million. And what it actually is, I'm not exactly sure, but it's a very high pollution reading that we've got in here. The salt, of course, can be utilized to simulate ocean water. Ocean water, by the way, is some of the most polluted water on the planet, typically coming in at reads on total dissolved solids of over 30,000 parts per million. So what I'm going to do now is stir this up real good, and then I'm going to set up the distiller, and we're going to purify this awful water so that it will then be totally fit for human consumption. And of course, once I get a distilling out of this, we're going to measure it again with the TDS meter and see just how pure the concept of steam distillation will make this totally unsuitable water. Okay, I've got my camp stove fired up. We're going to put this water in this big pot, and what we want to do is get this to the point where there's a nice rolling boil. And once this starts to boil in a nice roll, then the next step will be to place the distiller, the bottom, on top, and then to place the second part of the distiller on top of the bottom distiller. This is a two-phase distillation process, and it will totally clean this water. So until then, I'll go ahead and let the heat build up, and when we get the boil, then we'll take you to the next step. I'm going to use gloves to protect myself because a steam burn is not good. You want to take safety into account every time you utilize the still, because there are certain hazards that you have to be prepared for. We have a safety manual with this that we require that you read before you do any distillation. Now, this is a 15.5 quart kettle. I like it because the lid on this distiller fits on here perfectly, makes for a wonderful seal. I'm going to go ahead and set the lid down. Now you see where the steam is coming right up through the hole. This is the first phase. And now we'll set up the second phase of the distiller, setting it right on top. Let's take the hose and put it into a collection container. I prefer a glass bottle. I've got a 1 gallon bottle that I picked up from a store that sells natural foods. You can clean the bottle out good after you've drank the juice that you get from it. But that's an excellent place to store your distilled water. Now I will go ahead and watch. The next thing we need to do is we need to put a stainless steel pot on the top of the distiller. You see that steam coming off there? this has got cold water in it. And so by putting the covering the distiller with cold water in this stainless steel pot, now you have the ability to recondense the water and put it into the container of your choice. This is known as phase change. When you have water that is full of contaminants and you turn it from a liquid to a gas, it drops the contaminants off. Now, it will be important that you maintain a clean pot that sits on the top of your distiller, because you don't want any new contaminants being reintroduced into your stream. So be very careful that you maintain the top pot in an extremely clean condition, and by all means the very best thing to utilize would be a stainless steel pot for that function. You can see the water is dripping out of the hose. That is now purified water that is being caught in my collection vessel. I will let this continue to collect for a while, and when we get it to a higher level, well, then I will go ahead and take a sample of this purified water that I've collected from this extremely polluted condition out of the Jordan River. So the distiller works beautifully and is collecting the water, and this will be completely and totally useful for you in drinking or cooking purposes if you were in a condition of not being able to have the municipals provide the quality of water that would be absolutely necessary to protect you and your family. Well, I now have an adequate sample. I've taken the bottle off the distiller, and I set it down in this little thing of snow for a few minutes. I'm really trying to emphasize that you want to let this cool before you start to drink it. So after I've let it sit here for a few minutes, I'll take it inside. I will pour this into a glass. We will test it, and then I will drink it. Okay, I've brought the jug in from cooling outside. It's now cooled down enough, and I have an adequate sample so that we can actually fill the glass up most of the way with this water. Now, let's go and get the total dissolved solids meter out, and we will read this. Now, if this did the job it was supposed to, you'll see all zeros. Notice that we've got it in the water, and it's just like I said. All zeros across the board, such as what happens with phase change. Phase change being converting a polluted liquid of water into a gaseous state. When it goes to gas, it drops off all the pollutants, and then very carefully reconstituting the water back into a liquid form. Now we have a pure distilled product, one that is perfectly the best thing you could use for either drinking or cooking. And that came out of the Jordan River. So when you buy a unit, you're not just buying a unit. What you have done, in effect, is you have assured yourself and your family that you can always provide them with an unlimited, clean, and dependable source of drinking water and cooking water.